Hello and welcome to another episode of Health for Life. My name is Dianabedoya, and when I was thinking about what to actually talk about today, I realized that I have never shared my own story of how I was able to change my behaviors and to actually lose weight after struggling with it for so long. So how did I do it? What did I change? Well, I think we all know what we have to do. We have to eat less and we have to exercise more. I think that's been beaten into everyone's head. But it's not that simple, and it takes a little bit more than just the knowledge of that. So I always had the knowledge of that, like I'm sure we all do. But when I finally decided to change my behavior, I really had to change my mind a lot. So what changed? Well, first of all, when you look at people that have lost weight, typically they've had some sort of moment where things changed and they finally realized that, or they were finally ready to do it. And for me, it was a trip to Colombia. So I went to Colombia and I saw my cousins, and I noticed that although a lot of them had had weight problems when they were younger, most of them had learned to change their behaviors as adults, and they had all lost a lot of weight as adults. And I realized that I think that I had always told myself that I just came from an overweight family and that I was just destined to be overweight for the rest of my life. But seeing my cousins and seeing the fact that they had changed, it was kind of a moment where I was like, wait a second, if they can do it, I can do it. And I knew that it was possible. So that was kind of the first moment where I was just like I came home with a fire under me, and I just knew that I was finally ready to do it. So what did I do? Well, I exercised more and I ate less. So first of all, I had to change my attitude about exercise, and I told myself that, well, at the end of the day, I can exercise like 15 minutes more a day or 20 minutes more a day, and that I was capable of doing that. And I found ways of fitting it into my schedule. I also said to myself that if I was going to lose weight for real this time, because I had tried so many schemes and whatever else, but since I knew that I really wanted to do it this time, that I had to be really realistic about it, and I had to figure out how to change for good. So I had to figure out how to work it into my life. So I figured out ways to incorporate exercise into my weekly plan. I made plans of which days I would exercise and at what times I would do it, so I was kind of more accountable for it. As far as changing my eating behavior, that was a little bit more difficult for me. I think what I tried to do is just everywhere where I could possibly eliminate calories, I would do it. So I tried to, like when I was going to eat pizza, I would dab off the oil from the pizza. When I was making different dinners, I would try to use as little oil and as little like extra sugar or those kind of things as possible. So I first started by trying to cut out calories as much as possible. But throughout the process, I really had to talk to myself a lot and really get into my head a lot. I had to ask myself why I was eating certain ways and what was limiting me from stopping these poor behaviors. So I had to get into my head, I had to ask myself a lot of questions. I had a lot of self-battles in my head as well, where, I really had to drive home the concept of why I wanted to change and why it was important to me. And when I had those struggle moments, I kind of went back to thinking about why it was important to me. Another thing I did is I really got social support on my side. So I have some friends that can eat whatever they want and never gain weight. It's very, extremely frustrating. But I had to tell them that, I was really trying this time, and that sometimes there were bad influences on me, and that they had to try to help me as much as possible or be supportive for me as much as possible. So that was another thing that changed as well. Also, as I was starting to lose weight, something that I had to change in my head is that I had always thought of myself as just a fat person. And when you think of yourself as just a fat person, you're very limited in your capacity to change. And so I kind of had to tell myself that yes, it was possible, that yes, it was possible for me to be a smaller person, and that I could redefine my identity. Redefining my identity took a while because, enough people tell you you're a fatso for your whole life and you start to believe it. So knowing that I could change, knowing that I wasn't just a fat person, knowing that I could exercise just a little bit more a day, knowing that I could cut down my calories incrementally, just bit by bit. I knew that I could do that. We all can do those things, but I really had to figure out how to just fit it into my life and reassure myself that it was possible. Now, when I struggled along the way, which is going to happen, and I had setbacks, I had bad days, I just had to, the next day, not give up and keep moving forward. Because you will have setbacks, and you will have days where, you eat too much or you don't exercise a lot, and you might feel like crap about it. But you can't let that ruin your belief in yourself, because it is possible to change it. We are all capable of changing our behavior and keeping it up. All of us are capable of doing that. We just have to know we are, and we have to find ways to fit that into our life and be realistic about it. If you try to change too many things at once, or you try to make unrealistic changes, you're not going to be able to keep them up. You have to figure out, how are you going to eat less? How are you going to exercise more? How are you going to fit that into your life in a way where you're going to want to do it for the rest of your life? So that's what really changed for me. There was a lot more to it than that, but that was the basics. Honestly, it was changing my mind more than anything else. We all know what we have to do. We just have to figure out how we can do it for ourselves and know that we are capable of doing it. And hopefully bring some friends along for support as well, because that often helps as well. So there's your little health info for the day. Thanks so much for listening. Here's to your health. Take care. Bye-bye. See ya.